Well, good morning, everyone. There we go. I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and welcome to Somewhat Daily Tarot and Rune for the 17th day of December, 2019. Well, if this is your first time here, welcome. Thank you so much for stopping by. I hope you'll click subscribe. I'd love you to do that. Come back again and join our Tarot and Rune family. And no, I don't send you anything. I don't take your email. Don't worry. Anyway, it's nice to come together and talk about the different interpretations of runes and tarot and numerology and all of that. So if you feel so moved, do put something down in the comments and we can get a discussion going if you like. I post these over on the Facebook page as well for Stepping Aside, and we can also get one going there if you want. Can always start something, a little conversation under that video as well when it's over there. So in any event, if you've been here before, thank you for coming back on this 8 energy day. 1 and 7 is 8, so that means we have an 8 energy, and so we're talking a higher level of awareness. Leadership, because leadership sort of, if you're in a position of leadership, hopefully you understand that you are a leader of something and that you have to have a different vision than, say, someone who's not in that position. And so you have to have an understanding of the greater picture. From a soul perspective, when you get up into the 8, you're starting to talk about, because with 6, you've got shared purpose, and that's higher self informing that. Well, here, you're really in the higher self mode, hopefully, especially if you're expressing leadership qualities. But 8 is also about our practical side. So there could be issues of our practical nature coming up today, earth element stuff like, job, home, whatever, tradition, family, legacy, any of those things, security. I mean, think earth element really when you think about the 8, I think, because you're really talking about the foundation of things. 4 again is about structure and foundation. And when you start to increase by 2, you're really, or in the case of the 4 and the 8, you're seeing just a greater level of that structure. Having to do with the awareness of it all, instead of just your little part of the world. I bought a chair cushion here for my chair that is, I bought it from Gaia, and there's a link to it here on my below the video, but to that site if you want to go check them out. They have yoga supplies and stuff. But they have some recovery things in terms of balance, and what this does is it forces you to engage your core as you sit. Otherwise, you're doing this. Because it's like a bubble. It's like sitting on one of the balls, but it's not. It's more of a flat chair pad, only it's got air in it. So it's kind of like a mound, I got it yesterday, and I'm really liking it. Initially when I sit down on it, it's not so I have to get my balance on it, but it keeps my spine right, it keeps everything in alignment, and it engages my core. So I'm really happy with the purchase. And anyway, that's on there. It's in their recovery section, I think, or balance section or something, but I think it's called Balance Pad. Anyway, check it out. You might, if you're having issues with that, you're having back issues or anything like that. I had a lot of damage when I had severe rheumatoid arthritis before I went into remission with cannabis, and so I'm still contending with having to recover from all of it. And I achieved remission in 2011. So I've been doing a lot of things, but I just noticed this product and thought, ooh. Maybe I should get one of those. But anyway, moving on to the astrology here. The same pretty much in terms of where the planets are congregating. We said yesterday that they're in the 4th quadrant, so most in houses 10, 11, and 12. You're talking there about goals being in focus today. Maybe a tendency to follow one's own path, maybe a tendency toward humanitarianism. But with the moon in the 7th house of Virgo, again, you're looking at you need to spend some time maybe with a partner today. Maybe doing some focused things. Virgo's pretty focused, but mostly just spend some time and reconnect and all that with a partner or family or what have you, if you can, or someone close to you. The moon trine the sun, you're going to feel loved and supported today. But there's a sesca square with Pluto. It was in conjunct yesterday. Yesterday, you kind of wanted to keep things to yourself because you needed to see where really the situation was going, to see if really you were maybe just rising to something you shouldn't, maybe you're just feeling too emotional. And so because of that, you might be a little more, you might tend to take the bait a little more. Well, today, that's changed from in conjunct to sesca square. That's a mouthful, isn't it? But here it's where truth needs to be realized and expressed. And don't be concerned if you do of controlling the outcome of any of that. So maybe yesterday was a little more than simply where you were in the energy of the day. It could have really meant that something was gelling within, and that could be, and it needed another day to sort of gel and come to some kind of clarity. And so today, you're just going to have to say what it is you feel, and you're going to do it in a way that's hopefully not too aggressive, but if it does, then maybe it's just something that needed to come out and people needed to hear. So Sun in the 11th house of Sagittarius, also Mercury in the 11th house of Sagittarius. Both of them, you're going to be looking to friends again, one with reassessing your goals and another with expanding perception and awareness maybe also goals. Semi-square with Venus and Mercury. Again today, maybe the creative process is a little interfered with. Maybe you're just a little bit scattered. You can't bring it into focus. Venus in the first house in Capricorn is kind of talking about revamping your appearance, whatever there. I mean, if you're, especially if you're, trying to put your best foot forward somewhere, like at work or with another person or something, maybe you want to, put on a clean pair of clothes or something. I don't know. I mean, it could be something as simple as that. Maybe you just let yourself go a little bit in terms of you maybe just go comb your hair or something, wash your face, take a bath, something. Mars in the 9th house of Scorpio, you might want to develop some spirituality today. That might be your focus, which could interfere with your wanting to, take a bath or anything, unless, of course, it's about cleansing and purification or something like that. Then you could align it that way, couldn't you? And again, there's a little bit of a semi-square between Mars and Jupiter saying that you might want to rise to the occasion when you shouldn't. So again, if you're trying to express yourself with the sesca square with Pluto, again, just kind of be a little bit careful how you do it, if you can. And if you can't, then it is what it is. Jupiter in the 12th house and Capricorn, the circle of friends is expanding with like-minded people. Same as yesterday, Saturn in the 12th house of Capricorn. Again, same thing as yesterday, building your career and reputation probably behind the scenes though. But there's a conjunct with Pluto and Saturn here that it suggests that areas that were stable may be changing. Okay, so again, the classic line, let go of what no longer serves, no matter how challenging that might be. And again, that might have also something to do with the sesca square between the moon and Pluto. So it sounds to me like maybe some things need to come out today that you've been thinking about and that have been bothering you. So find a way to do it. And again, if it comes out badly, here's the thing about that. We all beat ourselves up for how we come across, but sometimes the way we come across, it's because there's so much emotion going on. What has happened has impacted us so much, in other words, that it might be helpful for that other person to see that. So there could be a message there where you're conveying to the other person, if this is something that you've been upset about with this person, they're allowed to see just how upset you are and what their behavior did. All right, and maybe that's valuable. So I don't know. I suppose get it under control at some point there, so you're not continually feeling chaotic in the conversation. But if it comes out badly in your mind, well, maybe it needed to. So, it's not simply about what goes on with you. Sometimes it's about what that other person needs, and you might not realize what that is. So until, the conversation happens afterwards when the dust settles. So anyhow, let's go ahead and get started though and take our first 3 cards and see what they are. And again, I'll take the 13th card each time for randomness sake. If we need a 4th, we'll do it. But if not, we'll move on to the Elder Futhark rune, and then we'll draw our Geomancy rune and see what we have there. So let's get started. 11, 12, 13. Well, the 12th card I dropped on the floor, so let me get that so we can see what it is, just to keep it in mind. Well, let's turn it around. We have the Ace of Wands, so we'll put that on the bottom. That's what I dropped, so it's like, get on with it. So we have the 7 of Swords here. We're going to set that down. Take our next one. Seven of Cups. I'm going to run on 7s here today. That would be interesting, wouldn't it? When you do tarot, you don't just look at the cards. You look at the numerological patterns with them. You look at the elemental patterns, any pattern that results, any conversations that might be taking place between the cards. If you've got court cards or something like that, or you've got the Empress and the Emperor in there, you might have a conversation going between them. Especially on the ones where the emperor is looking back toward the Empress. And here we have the King of Wands. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to make our king the focal point of the reading. And it'll either be and the other 2 cards will either reflect what he's doing or what he needs to do or something. Or if we think of this in terms of already, I think it's a response to authority. But we may look at the king as our either somebody we're dealing with, or we're going to look at this from the standpoint of issues the king or a person in authority is dealing with. So perhaps their relationship to the king versus his relationship to them. I don't know. But let's go ahead and look at the king first. Right now we've got a 7 and 7's 14, so we've got a 5 energy, so some change today. And again, keep in mind the Sesca square between the moon and Pluto. I just have a feeling that there's going to be things that have to come out today vis-a-vis authority. The king is concerned with his own issues. You see his little salamander down there at the bottom. That's the little elemental for fire. Wands is the fire element. We see his orange gown on there, his red hair. You see the staff in his right hand, projective hand. His left arm is back. So the receptive aspect of self is not really present in this guy. You see the salamander Ouroboros, the 3 of them on his the back side of his throne. You see 2 lions. But he's really just concerned with his own stuff, right? Excuse me. Let me drink some tea here. My husband very nicely makes my tea for me in the morning, and it takes the pressure off of me to have to do it for myself when I'm running around getting ready to do this. So it's nice that he does that for me. Now, here we have, and I want to show you, do we have that in this one? I don't think so. Let's look. No. Okay. Lately, we've been talking about the demarcation line that sometimes you see in tarot. And how I read that is that there's a change in status, okay, from one to another. And here, we're talking about a change in status. You see the demarcation line here. You've got a whole other thing going, whereas you've got the tents in the background, the soldiers are in the background. Here you're leveling the playing field. You have somebody that does not have, it's done through deception, of course, but 7 is about balance. Things have been out of balance, and so now they're coming back into balance. That could be true for us personally. It could also be true for us collectively, because things are not in balance collectively, are they? And so now we're trying to level the playing field a little bit so that we get the information that we need, that they don't want us to see, basically. So in a sense, you could say that if you were talking about this man being maybe from the town, that the king's army is going to come in and try to rape and pillage and plunder and take and all of that, kind of like what's going on in our world right now. You have to figure out what the truth is. You have to figure out what's really going on, what's behind the scenes, what's their battle plan, what are they going to do? And then you have to figure out a way to remove that advantage. So in other words, to bring things back to balance today, to get a little bit better, so you have a little bit of strength, you can move from a position of strength. You've got to bring things back under control, don't you? And to do that, you're going to have to level the playing field. So dealing with authority that's self-focused, that does not see the bigger picture, that is not able to embrace the 8 energy of today, you have to level the playing field. You cannot have your head in the clouds. You could say here you've got strategy, reason versus emotion. I will put it this way. Reason versus emotion. I tend not to read the 7 of cups. And I tend to think of it as dreaming new dreams. And I think I'm going to do the same here, because this reading can get very, very negative, and I don't know that I want to do this. But clearly we have issues of power and control going on here with the king. And things are happening behind the scenes that we're still trying to uncover. That's when, and because of that, the king has given himself an advantage that is not sustainable, especially if it's not in a true kingdom. If it's in a democracy, say ours, like ours, you can't. There are rules, there are laws, there are things in place if they are simply observed and people follow the rules, where that sort of thing can't happen. That's why, in the case of our government, you've got the Supreme Court, you've got Congress, and you've got the presidency. So you've got a 3-way split on how all of this is going to happen. You're not just going to have one individual governing and deciding everything like the guy wants to right now. So that's not possible. The president of the United States can never do that. All right. It just isn't possible. No matter what he thinks, no matter what people have told him, he doesn't have that power. How we express power over others, again, if, say, for example, the job we were talking about a couple of weeks ago that maybe was in the offing, say you got that, and you're somebody that's in a position of authority now over others, and you're trying to figure out how to express that. Maybe if you see people starting to revolt, it's because you've just come on too strong, perhaps. It could be something as simple as your delivery, right? But it could also be if you're restructuring things in a way that are to the advantage of you or the company and not so much to the worker, right? So you're going to get a revolt, and you're going to have somebody who's going to try to stand up and say, now, wait a minute, let's figure out a different way around you, right? And that could be what's happening here. Or you're having to figure this out. You're dealing with some authority here, and you have to figure out how you're going to do that. You have to have some goals in sight. Whatever your comfort level, in other words, it's been disturbed. And so now you have to find some way to bring this back into balance so that instead of, it being like this and the comfort level not even resonating because he's changed things so much. Now you have to find a way to bring this back into balance, you see. Before, it was looking like this. We need to do this. We need to have the king understand that, sure, he's got a voice here, but it has to be with an eye toward the bigger picture. Remember, it's an 8-day. Let's do a rune, if I can find my rune back. Here it is. Yeah. So this can be from a couple different perspectives, really, personally. Either you're the authority in here that's having trouble with that, maybe behaving in a way that's a little too authoritarian or oppressive and not really listening to other people. Or you're dealing with it and you're having to do something because your comfort level's been disturbed. And so now you've got to bring reason into play so that you can bring everything back into balance. And it's like, well, wait a minute. The changes you want to make are not helping. It's like when you want to, let's see, what's the latest? Oh yeah, they want to do something to Social Security disability that's going to remove hundreds of thousands of people from the rolls, getting disability who need it, right? In other words, things are happening, if you're looking at it from the government standpoint, from the king's, because he thinks he's a king, he wants to do all these things that create such austerity, but what the true result is a disempowering of everyone below him, to where only the oligarchy, only the 1% is what matters. And that's what's going on. And so we have to figure out, so what's happening behind the scenes to make this happen, all right? And that's where the 7 comes in. That's where the investigations, the impeachment that's going to happen tomorrow and all of that, right? Where we're finally coming down to the wire saying, look, this behavior is unacceptable. You're affecting our lives. So we've done it from pretty much all 3 angles: the government, whether or not you're the authority, or whether or not you're trying to deal with the authority. So I think that covers all of it, doesn't it? That it could possibly be. So again, Rado, 5th rune of the Elder Futhark: change, rhythmic motion, integration with others, harmony, moving in concert together, in unity. Think rider and horse. Let's draw it out, because it's a good one to do that with. And forgive my artwork. There's Rado. But as with many of the runes, they're a bind rune. We have Isa. You can see that. 11th rune of the Elder Futhark, we're talking the Norn rune of the present moment, so freezing things into place, alignment, unity. We also have Laguz, which is flow, flowing with others. We have Vunyo, fellowship and joy, aligning well with the 7 of Cups. We also have, let's see, we have Kenaz, both forward and reversed. And a little bit, if you want to consider this bottom part of Rado, kind of a weird Kenaz. But Kenaz is the torch, and it's the light of spirit. And here we have it turned inward and outward. And so, again, spirit has to inform this whole thing. We have to see things in terms of spirit, don't we? Not in terms of ego. If you let ego define all of this, then you have the king who's out of control. But when you understand that you have to come together in shared purpose, you're basically acknowledging the collective aspect of self, aren't you? And certainly with Rado, you're doing that. So clearly, there has to be a balance between head and heart, irrespective of how we do things. Also a little bit with will, but head and heart, you know, our mind gets the better of us, our reason or lack thereof gets the better of us. And we have Caput Draconis. And then we don't, you know, maybe emotions, we don't listen to our heart when we should. We try to strategize too much, and we can't see we lose empathy, essentially, and compassion for what's going on. You have to have a way of doing what's right, but with an understanding, a greater understanding of what's going on. And that's a balance between head and heart. But here we have Caput Draconis, which is one of the nodes, the moon's nodes ones. You have Caput and Kata for the north and south node of the moon. And Kata, of course, is considered the tail of the dragon, and Caput is considered the head of the dragon. And so the tail of the dragon would be the south node and karma and past life and all of that. But Caput Draconis would be the head of the dragon and the north node and our present and future. And so here we're talking about new beginnings. And yes, that's not an open circle down there. That's a dot. I'll fill it in. There. It's clear from here that we need a new beginning because whatever's happening is not working for us, all right? There are things that are happening that the king is doing that's causing us great consternation and concern because we're concerned over our security. I mean, that's really what this comes down to. If it's a job or something and you're the guy in charge, you're the person in charge, maybe you've caused such upheaval by all of it, and people maybe those around you didn't support your promotion. Maybe they know you better than the boss, and they know what's going to happen, and so they're concerned and they're strategizing, trying to figure out, hey, we're about to lose some stuff here that we don't need to lose, all because you are doing something you shouldn't be doing. You're expressing authority in a way that's not based on reason, right? Maybe trying to make too many changes when they're not necessary, when maybe subtle, is what you need. Take a little, sculpting knife instead of a sledgehammer, in other words. So clearly somebody, either you or the people you're around, are trying to come up with a different strategy to find their way through whatever's changing here, whatever's happening. And whatever's causing such difficulty, the rhythmic motion and harmony that once was, is no longer. And so with Rado is telling us we need to get back to that. We need to have some cohesive shared purpose forward, right? Because we have some new beginnings to do here. We need to take a different focus now. Things need to go in a different direction if we expect our future to be one that's balanced and respectful and all of that, So again, we can look at this from the three different perspectives, actually. The societal one that we're dealing with right now, where we're trying to get information and try to figure out what in the heck is this guy doing. And all you got to do is just let his unpaid lawyer speak. He'll tell you everything. He's literally paving the road to impeachment. So it's like you got to ask him, what you so mad at Donald for, Rudy? That you're handing it to him on a silver platter. What'd he do? What are you mad about? If you don't ask questions about what's going on, then you're just basically giving up, and you can't do that. So if you've got a situation in your life where you're the authority and maybe things are happening the way they are, the conflict that you're seeing happen because it's your approach, and maybe you just need to rethink it. Again, scalpel versus sledgehammer. If you're trying to deal with somebody like that today, there is a chance for a new way forward with Caput Draconis. Understand and reestablish the unity with everybody, all of your coworkers if it's a job situation, and make everybody be on the same page here. Make sure everybody is going in the same direction. Maybe there needs to be a discussion with this person who's effecting so much change that's not helpful. Either way you look at it, though, maybe if this isn't a personal issue with you, maybe this is signaling that how you express or assert yourself in life is not reflecting a balance between head and heart, and you just simply need to do that. And I think that if the lack of balance is there, it's probably due to the issue between Pluto and the moon, where we're really starting to realize that you can't keep things in. You have to let them out. You have to talk about things. You have to, of course, have somebody willing to listen, though. And that's the other thing. This could be something like that, where you're somebody that just doesn't listen to others, and it's hard for you to do that. So you're going to have to figure out a way to balance head and heart, both if you're the authority and if you're the one that's not the authority. So in any event, I guess that's it. Again, thank you so much for coming by. Check out my blog, Stepping Aside, over at imsteppingaside.com. All my links are below the video. Check them out. And I guess we'll see you tomorrow. Be good to yourself. Be good to one another. And blessed be.